Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and today I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted. How you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I'm good, man. I am raring to go. I spent a bunch of time reading this thing last night, and probably will remember nothing because I read it all in one shot and did not take any notes or anything. But we are going to be talking about the latest UA that just dropped. It's a doozy, 77 pages. It's freaking huge. It's a whopper. There's a link down in the description. You can just go download it from D&D Beyond. You probably need a free account. I'm sure they make you do that in order to get it. But there's a lot of content there if you're curious about what's going to happen with 5e next, or whatever they're calling it.
Whether you're calling it one D&D, whether you're calling it 5.5, or the future of D&D, whatever it is that you want to call
I,
it.
I don't even think they're
uh,
calling it one D&D anymore.
I know, but there's gonna be people that are so ingrained at this point in time of calling it that that's what they have to do. Uh,
So
I've gone into this, and there's a lot of material here to unpack. We are certainly not going to sit here and read all 77 pages and give you commentary. To
we're going to
me,
just poke around.
we're going to poke around. To me, the big jumping off point is they have decided to roll back to the 2014 edition of classes. So the subclass things that we've been kind of like going over and over and over again, like all that's trash.
Mm.
You're now not getting set abilities at 3, 6, 10, and 14, though some classes still have that. They felt it was going to give too much of a headache for someone playing class subclasses that aren't going to be in the released material, to then be like, well, how do I play this character? Do I have to change subclasses until my thing is released? So they're like, nope, we're just going to do away with this, which to
Well,
me I feel like is a huge loss.
I
But
do believe one of the things they did do is push all of the archetypes to third level. All the
mhm,
subclasses start at third level, even if they reversed on the other levels and progressions. Like you're not going to get your cleric at first level like you did previously, and sorcerer was another one. Druid was second level. All of them have
Wizard was
just
second.
they've all been shifted to third level, but then after that it kind of reverts back.
Yeah, so it's going to be trials and tricky in some way, shape, or form, which is slightly problematic for some, but whatever it is that it's going to be, it's what it's going to be. And as much change as they've had, as much flip flop as we've seen, this is still playtest. So who knows? They might get feedback of like, no, we want all of the things, at 3, 6, 10, and 14.
Hey,
Whatever.
hello, so what's knitting in Gateshead, UK? We'll be in the UK in a few days. We're coming.
Yeah,
You've
we're
been warned.
hopping on a plane in like 2.5 days.
Yeah, before you know it. So, first of all, let's just start with like what's in here. So you get 7 classes: Bard, Cleric, Druid, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, and Rogue. We're going to get some. We actually get a couple new subclasses: College of Dance for Bard, Circle of the Sea, and the Druid. There's spells that are revised, feats, weapons. There's a glossary. So there's a ton of stuff here, and like Ted said, we have not gone through everything yet. I mean, I just kind of read all the class stuff. I just skipped the fluff to see what the changes were for the mechanics and stuff. I guess like I realized a little bit late that this even came out. Although one of the things I do like about this UA and some of the other ones is they have a section in the beginning. They're like, here's what changed, so that part makes it a lot easier, especially once you've seen several iterations. Like at this point, I don't know which UA and what's the original Player's Handbook.
Yeah, it is tough, and with as much rules and class mechanics as we've read over the years, it does kind of blur together. So like there are times where I've struggled, recently to be like, all right, I don't know what class ability is that. I got to look that up, or could you look that up for me? I mean, I ran a game yesterday where I was confused, and one of the other players like grabbed a character sheet from somebody's like, you need to read your abilities. Look at this. This will help us out right now. Do it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was useful going through this thing. I wound up just skimming through the things that I had seen before, paid and read through the designer notes. And I read the College of Dance and the Circle of Sea, and I thought they were really cool. There's definitely some fun
Well,
changes that's there.
let's kind of go in order, right? And we'll just like
Sure,
we're not gonna go over everything, but we'll just call out some things here and there. Like for
sure.
Bardic Inspiration now lasts a long time compared to before. It lasts an hour, so even if you don't use it immediately, say if you're in a combat situation, it's not going to get wasted. You can kind of hold on to that to use it for something else. So that's kind of a cool change that I think I think people will dig that. Also, I think one of the big changes for Bard is you pick your spell source, whether it's divine, arcane, or primal, and then when you get your divine secrets later on, you can dip into the other ones. So I mean that alone can make two bards look really different because they're gonna have different spell lists.
Until you reach 10th level, where once you get magical secrets, it's like it's all open to you.
Well, not
Like no
everything.
no more.
I think it's still just a certain number of spells.
Right, but you can then pick from anywhere. It's not like you know
It's the way it is
you
now.
know it's not. No, because like imagine when we have magical secrets, it's like you can go and pick specific things, and have anywhere. But like this is like from here on out. As a result, your bard spell list now includes the arcane, divine, and primal spell lists, which means every time you gain a level and you would
Oh
get
yeah,
new
yeah, you're
spells to put,
absolutely right. I totally misread
you
that.
can just be like, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
It also means like when I go to trade out spells because I want to get rid of something, you can be much more diverse than what the previous bards ever were, even with all of the magical secrets you could possibly get. Now it's through the roof.
But I think that
You
also
know,
like will make two bards vastly different as well.
oh, I 100% agree. I really dig this. I actually had to read this through multiple times. I'm like, wait, what? So like I definitely spent some time with it. I dig a lot of what this current bard has the ability to do, and I feel like they only have 3 levels where they get abilities from their subclass. They get a 3,
Yeah.
6, and 14. Uh, so like reading this one first, I'm like, well, where's the 10th? And it's like, nope, you don't get it. But what you get at 10th is so big that it's like, man, this is just crazy. And then at 20th level, Words of Creation, you always have Power Word Heal and Power Word Kill prepared. And if you cast it, you can choose a second target as long as both targets are within 10 feet of each other.
And
Uh,
also Power Word Kill got better, I believe.
did it? I didn't get, I didn't get that
I
far.
saw it
Um,
referenced. I saw it referenced. I did not read the spell, but what I do know is that it references the fact that if you have more than 100 hit points, you're still affected by the spell.
oh, well, I mean, that's something.
So that it's more than something. I think that's a big deal because before it was like either it affected you or it didn't, right? And
Right.
now even if you're past 10 points, it's probably it's going to do damage or whatever.
All right. Well, since we're talking about it, you utter a word of power. It can compel one creature you can see within range to die instantly. If the creature you chose has 100 hit points or fewer, it dies. Otherwise, the target takes 12d12 psychic damage. There is no save. So that's freaking incredible. I feel like that spell is now going to be used far more often. Um, because it's not essentially a save or suck spell, even though there's no save. Because it either, like I said, it either worked or it didn't. But it's either going to out and out kill them or do a buttload of damage.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I had to double check, but if you get access to primal spells, you get healing as well. So someone tally hit in the comments. So Bard, unless you go arcane, That's the only way you're kind of like completely closed off from healing spells. Um,
Right.
but I don't remember before they were letting you use your bardic inspiration die to heal, right? And I think they undid that.
They undid that. Yep.
Yeah.
But your bardic inspiration, it's back to attacks and skills, so that's cool. Um, other than that, I feel like the bard's pretty solid. Um, you know, there's not a whole lot of new that's here beyond those kind of things called out.
Yeah.
Counter charm has been fixed.
Oh, that is big time in fix because counter charm has always been a pet peeve of mine because
Hmm.
you have to know that something's going to charm you. And also, it used to be
Hmm.
very specific too, right? Like it had to
Right.
be a harpy or something of that nature. And now it's just like, nope, charm, reaction, reroll the saving throw with advantage. And
Right.
they've made it from pretty much mostly useless to useful. So
Useful and usable.
Ronan Hare does point out, like, yes, you have those spells. Power word kills better. You can affect more than one target, but also you get one ninth level spell. So,
Right, yeah, you're not casting them both.
yeah.
But, depending upon what kind of
Well,
bard
no.
you want to play.
In addition to whatever other ninth level spells you have as well, right? You might have wish on your list, so
Right, yeah. But you can only cast one ninth level spell a day, and you're going to have these two automatically prepared. So,
it does kind of give you options at any rate. And also for a 20th level capstone, he brings up the point to adding two spells to your spell list aren't really isn't that awesome, right? Compared to like the barbarian getting a +4 to con and strength.
yeah.
But like that's also one of the best abilities of the game, and that's so I always like to use that as my um as the bar, right? Because I think that's like one of the best 20th level abilities.
Right,
So
because it's affecting its two core stats to going up by 4 each, you know, bypassing, the cap, of 20.
so the other notable thing to point out about bard is College of Dance, and it's basically, do you want to play a bard that punches and kicks things? This is the bard for you. They get unarmored defense. They get a bunch of other things that are going to help them be more effective when they're unarmed. Although, the one thing I think is really worth pointing out with them is their leading evasion,
Yes.
because they get evasion, but they can also share it with somebody else, which is a big deal.
As long as you're within 5 feet of them, making the same dexterity saving throw, but you both can get that ability, and it's not linked of like you both have to pass or you both have to fail. It's you help somebody else out, so like you could wind up failing and they could wind up passing, but you would both gain the benefit. When I started reading it, I'm like, this is evasion. Why is it called leading evasion? And I'm like, oh, you get to help somebody else. This is nice. And of course, they have to put in there, you can't do this if you're incapacitated. But I felt this one was a lot of fun. Um, I imagine this is in there. Not that there's a huge amount of great overlap, but if you wanted to play like a monk bard, I feel like this could work out well for you. And you could use Dex and Charisma as your AC as opposed to Dex and Wisdom. Why you'd want to go there, I don't know, but you know, it's a thing.
Yeah, I was hoping to get a little more out of the Bard of Valor, but there's not much help there. I mean, a little bit tweaks. So cleric, what are your thoughts?
So I mean, cleric has gone through changes, and I haven't really been super enthused with what's here. I like the fact that they've made the change for now what's called blessed strikes, and what used to be your eighth level ability of either getting, you know, extra damage once a turn, or potent spell casting, is now like, oh, you can kind of pick, and it's been moved to the core class. Like, all right, that's fun. I'm happy to see that. Um,
And it's also
you
not a
know,
subclass ability anymore.
correct, which it shouldn't be. Like, if you're only getting one or the other, that really should just be down to a core class ability and should not be lumped into a subclass. And you should really get the pick, which, they've
Yeah.
made that change. They've divided your divine intervention into like multiple categories, which makes it a little bit weird. Um,
Well, I like the divine order in a sense. It's like, are you going to be more castery or more martial bent to your cleric? Right, at first level, you make that distinction. So, which
sure.
also helps for when you hit third level and you take your subclass, and it doesn't
Hmm.
get weird all of a sudden, like because you decide to go war cleric, but you actually sucked
Right.
at fighting before then.
So I get that point, and they had to make some kind of change to help those out. But like, you could just be like, all right, well, I'm gonna go, on the martial side to get the armor, but I really want to just be a spellcaster that's a tank. So like, there's ways to still play the character that you want, but it's, I don't know. It just still feels a little wonky. I guess because I've played so many clerics in 5e, because it's, well, my favorite class. So when
Yeah.
you start messing with my thing, it's like, you're
So
so
your channel divinities, just your bases. Okay, you have more healing you can give out, or you can turn undead. And I kind of like what they've done with the turn undead here, um,
mhm,
where you kind of can neutralize undead if they fail their saving throw, and it gets better when you get higher levels. You actually damage them with that ability. You don't have like the instant dust is in earlier editions. I don't know if 5e has a version if they you instantly dust anything. I don't
I
remember.
think it's either like turn or destroy. Like, it doesn't say. I don't know if it specifically called out dusting, and I don't have a player's
Well, it was
handbook with
destroyed.
him.
I'm just using slang from the table.
Sure, yeah,
But then later on, you not only when you turn, you give them the frightened incapacitated conditions, but then you also do damage, which doesn't affect those conditions either. So that's kind of cool. It's your smite undead ability, basically. I
right.
think it is. Yeah, smite undead, and basically, eventually you're gonna be dropping 5d8s, if you max out your wisdom. So it's kind of cool. I kind of like that. You already mentioned Blessed Strike, which really is just reflavoring of things we've already seen. Everyone's going to get access to Commune. Like you said,
Yeah, I
Divine
mean, like,
Intervention. They've kind of split
yeah,
it
the
up,
the
and
commune the commune is cool, but it's like, oh, you've always got this prepared. So in case you want to use it, you don't have to waste one of your spell slots. All right, that, to me, that's not great, because like, not every cleric wants to have that thing. I mean, yeah, great. If you want to play jester and have conversations with your god or goddess, that's awesome. But very rarely have I had, that kind of relationship in the games that I've played. So like, all right, maybe if it's there all the time, maybe you can have a better relationship. Maybe that's what they're looking at. I don't know.
well, I mean, Commune spell has some pretty good uses to it. It's like Legend lore, but for clerics. So it's basically ask the universe questions, and the universe will answer your questions.
Sure.
Divine intervention, like you said, it's split up. Basically, boom, you get to use a spell
So
from
what is your thoughts there? Because to me, like, before, it used to be open ended, and like,
yes.
as soon as you hit that threshold, people are like, I'm using this every day until it works. And it was always one of those things like, something big could happen. And now it's like, all right, this is just a fifth level spell or lower. Even though it was a small chance, I always felt like
It was cool.
It it was cool. It was like one of those things like it got the table's attention when clerics hit that level because like there was always a chance, and I felt like while it creates problems and it takes actions, it takes a use of an ability that most of the time is not going to work, but when it does, it's a story, and people love those stories.
Yeah, but it also, I guess, also like it made a lot more work for the DM because now the DM
Sure.
had to interpret and be like, okay, what is going to happen here? What's going to work? And also, like you said, for the player has this ability that there's a chance that it works, but most of the time it's not going to. Now at 10th level, automatically something happens, and then at 20th level, you basically get to cast a wish.
Right. And all right, 20th level, you're gonna get that wish, and you might get one or two sessions, where you're gonna get to do that. But it's a 20th level ability. How often are you gonna get to do that over the course of a campaign? Maybe if someone's running an actual like epic game, it
Yeah.
starts at 20th level, and that's where, okay, sure. Then it might be, a major deal. Um, but I guarantee you that you're not going to get a huge amount of stories out of that. Oh, I got to cast a fifth level spell or lower.
So now moving on to like the domains,
Hmm.
they finally fixed something in trickery that I feel like our group has always found irksome,
I
and that
read through the trickery. What are you calling out here?
blessing of the trickster. And as an action, you choose yourself or a willing creature within 30 feet of yourself to gain advantage on
Hmm.
dexterity stealth checks. This blessing lasts 1 hour until you use this feature again. It used to be you couldn't use it on yourself,
Right.
and to us, it just seems so dumb that you can make someone else super sneaky, but not yourself, and you are literally the disciple of the trickery god, right? So
Yes.
the trickster god. So it's kind of
I,
dumb.
I actually really liked, what was here. I've never played the Trickery Cleric, at least not that I can recall. I've seen, quite a bit of it, because there's been several people who have played it with me as the DM or, me as a fellow player. I've actually, watched all of Critical Role with Chester. So seeing some of these kind of things, that have been tweaked, I like what's there. You know, some of the things like Cloak of Shadows was, it says like the design notes was poorly rated. So now like they've made some tweaks there. Invoke Duplicity no longer requires concentration, which makes that significantly better and allows clerics who have quite a decent amount of concentration spells, to be a little bit more useful. So thumbs up for that. Concentration is certainly my bane of fifth edition because I didn't play a lot of spellcasters before, and now that I enjoy playing them, there's so many things that I want to layer that I just can't. So yeah, but I really dig what they put in for the trickery domain. I like all the changes.
Yeah, it makes me actually want to play a trickery cleric now. So Druid, a lot of stuff going on with Druid, man. Now, one of the big
So
things that
Druid had a rewrite. They used to have this plant that would go out and heal, and that's gone, right?
they had several rewrites, right? They got rid of that. Um, One of the things that they did in one of the iterations was got rid of the wishy-washy language when it came to armor, and they just instead of saying you won't wear metal armor, it just said you can't. Right?
Right.
And I was like, yes, finally you guys committed. Enough of this, enough of this verbal semantic bantering with the power gamers. You just can't do it now. And now they've totally given in, and now you can wear metal armor.
Oh, I missed that part.
It doesn't. Well,
Um,
you have armor, light armor and shields. You're trained in, but there's no restriction that I've seen that would keep you um from wearing metal armor. That doesn't make any
uh,
mention of it anymore. So if you get it from someplace else,
all
you
right,
can
all
wear
right.
it.
So, uh, So there's like I said, there's a lot of wonky changes. I totally missed that one
Yeah, that one jumped
about
out at
the
me.
armor.
The other thing is they have a primal order now at first level. It's very similar to. Oh yeah, this it definitely comes into play because it's very similar to the cleric one, where it's like,
Yep.
hey, do you want to be more spellcastery or do you want to be more martial? Which means you get access to martial weapon proficiency and medium armor training, which is metal. That's up to half plate, right? That's metal armor.
Yep.
Uh, I see people asking about wild shape. We'll get to that in a second. You do get a wild companion, so basically you can cast Find Familiar, and they got rid of the stupid restrictions they'd put on it before, which made
Well,
no sense.
they still have it disappears when you finish a long rest. So you do have to keep sacrificing, you know, uh, a use of your wild shape to keep it in place. And it has to be a fey creature, or it's labeled as a fey type, whatever it is that you
Yeah.
pick. But it's still one of those things. Was like, all right, I dig that there. Um, but wild shape, man, wild shape has gone yet again through the ringer.
Well, so now it's a bonus action for everyone to change. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
You now take the stats of the actual animal. You're not restricted from creatures that I believe can swim and climb at the early levels like you were before.
Correct.
Only flying has the restriction at later levels. Now, also, you don't use the animal's hit points anymore. You use your own. You use your proficiency bonus or the animal's, whichever is better, and you have a limited number of forms that you can assume.
All right. So I know there was a thing in here. All right, game statistics. Um,
Oh,
but
you
you
can also
retain your hit
talk.
points. Yeah, you use your hit points, hit dice, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores. You can talk. Uh, you can't use any legendary or lair actions if the creature has them. You can't cast any spells, but you can concentrate on them. And your ability to manipulate objects is entirely based off of can that animal form legitimately do that? So, like, if you somehow magically have armor that changes shape with you, so like, that could be a whole thing of like, oh, well, I'm going to do this thing. Then okay, well, my hide armor now is being put on the bear, and the bear's wearing armor. Rawr.
Well, I mean,
Um,
you could even use like other examples like amulets, cloaks, that kind of stuff.
sure.
Uh, I guess a hat, depending on the animal.
um, you know, so it's definitely been improved from our last one. You have a set number of forms. So at second level, three. At fourth level, four, and at eighth level, five. And you can replace ones with things that you've encountered, as opposed to just I have access to everything once I get to that particular stat block, if you will. Um, so like there's certainly challenges that go along with it. And it recommends that, oh, you have a riding horse, a spider, and a wolf to start. All right, those are some pretty solid choices. But it definitely is going to steal
it's
a lot of thunder
it's an
from
upgrade from the
from
last version, but a downgrade from what it is now.
yeah.
Unless you put a lot of
Other than
stock
the
in the
fact,
ability to talk and the items can change with you, or if you like turn into an ape or something or a primate or something like that, like you could probably use a lot of your gear.
yeah, I mean, turn into an ape, start swinging that great sword around.
Yeah.
I think that could be fun, fun times.
So I don't think
Um,
we're quite there yet. We still have a little ways
we
to
get
go, but we're
we
closer.
get Elemental Fury all the way at seventh level, which is going to allow you to either add your Wisdom modifier to primal cantrips, or when in wild shape, you can add elemental damage to your attack. So it's pretty much asking you, are you a spellcaster or do you attack in animal form? So realistically, are you Circle of the Moon or are you anything else? Um,
You
you
get
know,
a
you
commune
get
with nature, which is very similar to the cleric.
at a 15th level, you get improved elemental fury. So like your choice gets to go up. So your cantrip, if they have a range of 10 feet or greater, it increased by 300 feet for range. Or Primal Strike is now doing 2d8 elemental damage.
I just want to
And
say,
with that,
I just want to
go
say,
ahead.
at that 300 foot of range, that's one hell of a thorn whip.
Now that's the spell's range increases by 300 feet. So your Thorn Whip, which is what 15 feet, like all
No,
right,
no, that's like 30.
315 feet.
It's like
Oh, is
30
it?
or
All right,
60. It's
well,
pretty long, yeah.
all right, well then 360 feet or 330 feet is like all right, way over there.
Yeah, or produce flame. Isn't produce flame like 120 or something? Maybe it's only
I think
60.
so.
Maybe it's only 60. I don't know. But
So at 18th level, you gain the ability to cast spells in your beast form. There are of course limitations of it. It can't require a material component. Um, you know, so that's kind of wonky since a lot of them are. And then at 20th level you get Arch Druid. Um, you know, not a huge thing. It's not unlimited wild shapes anymore. If you when you roll initiative and have none, you gain one. You get Nature Magician. You can turn your unused wild shapes into spell slots, and you get the increased lifespan of for every 10 years your body only ages one. So lots of fun for those elven druids.
so Circle of the Land got some like big changes and weird changes. Like you don't pick the region you're from anymore. You
Yeah,
just
you pick it
change it
every
after a
day.
long rest, and it just like
Yep.
so it gives you an access. It gives you access to a lot of spells that you can
I
change out.
this has actually made me really enjoy reading through this one because this has actually got me excited. I'm like, all right, I like druids, and I've enjoyed playing the couple of druids that I've played in 5e. But land has never really appealed to me because I felt like it was too limited. If you weren't like, all right, I'm a desert druid and this is a desert campaign, boom, I got this. Like, you know, if you traveled through different terrains, I felt like, all right, my help here is, I'm done. See you later. I'll pass you on to the next druid. Now you can just roll along with it. And you can really be, I'm gonna dive deep into the spellcaster angle of the druid and have a lot of fun with it.
So I mean, I'm of two minds here, right? Like
Sure.
one is like I think you should just get stuck with the spell list based on where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I would probably just play my druid that way, where like even if it wasn't beneficial, I'd be like, oh, I'm in the mountains or the a polar region or whatever, and he just becomes in tune with that area for RP reasons, and so that's how spell list changes. But I almost part of me almost feels like it should just be that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, at third level, you get something here that it looks like you're going to try and do with most of the druids, and that is new ways to spend your wild shapes, which I really like that aspect of it. Where like the specific ability here doesn't matter as much to me. Land's Aid, where basically you can at a range you can hamper and harm your enemies and heal an ally. To me, the more important thing, the more significant thing is you just have a new way to use your wild shapes. If you're not a
Yes.
druid that likes to
Yeah,
change your
and that,
form.
that that was one of the things that I really liked about this is like because you can choose to like there's so much built into the druid of wild shape, whereas having something else to do with that cool resource means something and be like I'm going to turn this type of druid into a spellcaster. Now we are only 22 pages in out of 70, and we've already crossed the halfway point. So we're clearly not going to get through all of this now, but we do have to stop for a moment and kind of do those things we typically do. I'm certain if you've been around the block before, or what have you, you probably observe somewhere up above our heads the sign for Easy Roller Dice, and the fact that we've been sponsored by Easy Roller Dice for a long time. So link down in the description. Go check them out. Use that cool promo code to get 20% off your first purchase if you haven't already, because Easy Roller Dice, whether it's your first set of dice or your 100th set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. But beyond that, it is more than just sponsored by Easy Roller Dice. It's the first Monday of the month, or not Monday, it's Sunday. We do this Sundays now. Been doing this for Sundays in a while, but we do a whole thing. So I've got a giveaway to announce, as well as July. I apologize, Dave. That was D&D in a castle. This is going to be tricky on your schedule, but it's your month to run a game for the fans. So our this month's giveaway is going to Aaron Claxton, and I've got a copy of Easy D6 from our friends, Scotty and Runehammer. We've got a copy of the new Dragonlance book, as well as the starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. So in here is, some character sheets, a booklet, set of dice, and 48-page adventure booklet with everything you need to get started, a 32-page rule book for playing characters levels 1 through 3, 5 pre-generated characters, and 6 gaming dice. So I'm going to get a hold of Aaron, get those sent out. And for Dave, which he's gonna look at his schedule, and I've already sent him this list of people, so he'll send a message to you at his leisure. But people selected, we usually pick the first 5 to respond, and they get the pleasure to game with us. We've got Jonathan Joseph, Diana King, Brennan, Jason Hughes, Zeth Martin, Mike, Miles Johnston Humphrey, Nicholas Larson, Rick, and Shane Napier. So, like I said, we'll get in contact with those said people, and we'll get a game going. We'll get some books sent out and all that wonderful, wonderful jazz.
The stuff. Look to your email. So
Right.
diving back
3
in.
minutes.
Diving back in, Circle. We're going to skip Circle of the Moon for now, and go right to Circle of the Sea, because this is new. We see a new way to use our wild shape, where we get to basically create like an aura around us with Wrath of the Sea.
Yep.
Um,
So the aura lasts for 10 minutes. At the end of each of your turns, you can choose another creature you can see within 10 feet of yourself. It has to succeed on a con saving throw or take thunder damage. If the creature is large or small, it can be pushed 15 feet away from you. To determine the damage, it's your wisdom mod, and D6s. At 6th level, you always have water breathing spell prepared. In addition, you gain a swim speed. If you use a wild shape to assume a form that lacks a swim speed, that form gains the swim speed. So your wolf can swim like a mofo. At 10th level, you gain 2 more abilities that get added into your Wrath of Sea. So once you turn that on, you gain a fly speed equal to your swim speed, or to your speed. So you can fly, swim, and walk like you wouldn't believe. And then you gain resistance to cold, lightning, and thunder damage. So all in all, not too bad. And then your capstone for the subclass is Oceanic Gift. You can manifest the aura around one willing creature within 60 feet. The creature gains the benefits of the aura and uses your spell save DC and wisdom modifier for it. In addition, you can manifest the aura around both the other creature and yourself if you want to expend 2 uses of wild shape instead of 1 when you manifest your Wrath of the Sea.
so also too, like just Druid in general gets more wild shape than it used to.
Yes.
It used to just cap out at 2. I think now it goes up to 4. and you still get them back on a short rest. So, which is good. They're giving you more ways to use it, but also you get more of them.
So I dig, creating druids that aren't about the wild shape and giving them cool and awesome abilities that they can do with these things. Uh, you know, if you're going to be going up against things that are going to do cold, thunder, or lightning, and you can be like, all right, I'm a cloak my buddy in this, and we're gonna tank this. I think that's awesome.
So I think this is going to make you really happy, Ted. Moving on to Monk. Monk starts off with a die 6 damage.
Yeah, I thought that was a massive change for the monk. Now the monk does a lot of attacks, but I felt like it was such an insult to be like, all right, everybody else is doing all of these like extra damages and extra things, and the monk's like, yeah, I'm over here punching for a piddly D4. When you could take a feat and be like, yep, I'm punching for a D8 first level.
But only if you
Monk's
punch
gotta
like
wait.
this. Only if you punch like this.
How do you have to punch?
You have to punch like this. You have to use the Kirk
Oh,
maneuver. The
you have
axe
to use the
handle.
hammer fist.
The axe handle.
Oh, that's axe handle. I thought that was the hammer fist.
It's the axe handle. And it also goes all the way up to a die 12 now.
Yeah. So the whole thing has been bumped up a die, which that's awesome. Yeah. So it starts off at a D6, a D8 at fifth, a D10 at 11th, and then 17th you get a D12. So when the wizards finally get in wish, you can punch for what the barbarians hit with a great axe.
At first level.
Yeah.
You don't get key points anymore. You get discipline points. I think they're trying to like remove some of the Asian flavor from the monk.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's to get rid of the debate of whether it's Kai or Ki.
Um, I don't think that's it because I don't really think there's a debate there. We just mispronounce a lot of
I'm
shit.
uh so they get weapon masteries, they get the martial discipline, which was formerly the key. They get the ability to their deflected missile's been redesigned, making it a little bit easier. They got a new ability at 7th level to heighten metabolism, which is essentially a way to get your discipline points back and gain other benefits on a short rest.
Well, yeah, I mean,
uh,
technically, you'd be able to expend your hit die and get healing as well, if you
yep.
can take all the benefits of a short rest. But even before you get to that, though, your step of the wind ability has gotten vastly improved, right? Now you can spend
Yes.
1 point. You get to take both disengage and dash actions as a bonus action, and your jump distance is doubled for the turn. So that's pretty sweet,
Yeah. So
especially
that
because the
that that
monk's already a fast character.
yeah. So that winds up giving them a lot of movement around the battlefield. If they want, and here's the really sad part for those monk players out there. Stunning strike is now limited to once a turn. So no more. I'm gonna use it every single attack until it works. No more using stunning strike to burn through your opponent's legendary resistances.
Well, it all depends on
Uh,
whether they're found saving throws or not.
sure, but I mean, I've
Mm.
literally seen that happen. Of like, all right, I punch. All right, it fails its saving throw. It uses legendary resistance. All right, I punch again. I stunning strike. It fails its saving throw. I use a legendary resistance. Like, I mean, it's happened. So, like,
Yeah.
I know it's out there, and if it's happened at tables that I've seen, I know it's happened at a lot more than that. But I mean that wizard who's looking to launch that one cool spell, or that spellcaster that wants to launch that one cool spell. It's like I gotta have him get through these resistances. Monk was a good way to get it going.
Yeah. I mean, you had mentioned deflect missile. I mean, if you do manage to deflect the missile and redirect it, it does a decent amount of damage, twice your martial arts die, which could
It's twice.
possibly be more than the than the potential for the original attack.
And it's now a dex saving throw as opposed to an attack roll, which is kind of cool. You push it onto somebody else rolling the dice, not yourself. So useful for those who are bad at rolling dice.
All right, Ted. I hear you. I hear you.
Hey,
Uh,
I know lots of people who are bad at rolling dice. I'm
you know,
not necessarily just calling you out, my friend.
you no longer get magic fists, but you can do force damage instead.
Yep.
So that's great unless you got to fight a helmed horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then pretty much everything else is pretty much the same. They renamed some features. Um, what, I mean, the superior defense is kind of cool, but you get it so late in the game that it's not nearly as useful. Which just gives you resistance to all damage except for force damage. Because you could have just been like a
I mean,
totem barbarian.
sure, but I mean, at 18th level, you've got a decent number of discipline points, and you know it's still useful for a number of sessions. Even if like you play our style, where it's like, all right, you get 2 sessions at 18th level, 2 sessions at 19th level, and then a finale at 20. That's still 5 games, but many games or many campaigns are going to last a lot longer than that. So while 5 might not be a lot, I think that's still a pretty decent clip to
Sure, but
be able to use that ability.
how many games are going to update
Yes,
level?
yes. But if you look at the sheer number of abilities that
Yeah.
a monk gets, their versatility is not like they're not designed of I'm a tank where I just sit here and resist damage. The barbarian is all about resisting damage. The monk is about options.
Um. So what else do we got? So we go into the subclasses now.
So you got shadow, we get warrior of the elements, warrior of the hand. So nothing new.
And also
Uh,
the names are much lamer than I like the way of the
yeah,
shadow, way of the open hand,
in the way of the 4 elements.
and way of the four elements. Yeah.
So they've all been changed. But like you said, it looks like they're moving away from a particular naming vernacular.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah,
I think like all they all get a little bit of a boost. It seems like, for the most part.
hmm
The shadow warrior or warrior of shadow monk, basically does all the things it did before, but slightly better.
yep.
Now they can summon darkness, but they can see in their darkness, which is
They can move the darkness.
they can move the darkness. They eventually are teleporting, and they can teleport the darkness,
But you know what? Does not look like they can attack the darkness.
but they can attack from the darkness.
That's true. That's true. All right. So
So
what is your take on the revision of Warrior of the Elements? Is it a
it,
step in the right direction?
it's a step in the right direction. The problem with the way of the four elements monk is it's cool and it's flavorful, but you just don't have enough key points to make it useful, right? You run out of key points so fast that it's like, okay, and 2 rounds have gone by, and I'm done being cool.
Yep.
Now, I feel like one of the things that really helped that monk specifically, and it's a little bit tied into here as well, is the fact that what was it, Tasha's called and everything. Once you spent, like, they added that once you spend key points for something, you can then make an attack as a bonus action. So at least you kind of got a little bit more out of it, but it didn't really
Right.
solve the overall problem of you're just going to burn through your key points really fast. So
Correct.
here it's more useful but less flavorful.
Because most classes, like you can incorporate your theme, your subclass into what the things that you're doing. And with Way of the Four Elements, the only way for you to do anything off of your subclass was to spend those key points. And they get burned up real quick when they're 2, 3, 4, 5 points apiece. It's like, all right, I can do this once.
And not only
That's
that,
it.
your
Like,
primary features were based off of that as well. So
yep. So like you had to make the choice of, am I using these abilities or am I using those abilities, or do I only have to do like a smattering of each? So like what we have here is they've stripped out your discipline points from your subclass at all, and you can do, well, not at all, like you still have your elemental burst that you can use some, but like you get elemental strikes at third level that you can basically cause elemental damage to what you're doing. You can have a reach out to 10 feet with your unarmed attacks, unleashing your elemental energy. So like that's kind of cool. Um,
yeah, I do
it's
like
a step in
that.
the right direction,
I
but
like the reach. I like there's some flavor there you get to play with, the pushing, the pulling. You get to do your monk fireballs. It's 6th level, I think. You get access to all the energy types. It's more useful than the Way of the Four Elements. It just doesn't feel as rewarding.
yeah, I feel like this is a start,
Yeah,
but it's not there yet. It needs more because there is not a versatility. I think something along the lines of like, oh, once per combat, you can enter an elemental form, and this is what you get, and it lasts for a minute, or until you shut it off or you're incapacitated or what have you. But like, if you go fire, all right, well, my punches do fire damage and everything around me can get hurt. You know, if I go air, then I get an improved movement ability, an improved armor class, and you can, zip around the battlefield. I feel like you can really adopt, these things, and you pick what you would do. I feel like that would have to be the way to go, to not have it be a thing. And but once per combat isn't a thing that 5e does, but like I feel like that's the way this thing needs to go. I don't know.
I like
I'm
the
all
destructive stride ability. Um,
sure.
when you one, it's fairly inexpensive to use. It's only a key point, right? You add 20 feet of
Hmm.
movement. You're 17th level, so I mean that's a downside. But you're 17th level. You're a monk, so you're already fast. So what is your movement at that point? Like 80 feet or something ridiculous?
So 17th level. Let's scroll up a little bit here.
Yeah,
17th level plus
plus
25.
25.
So if you're normally at 30, that's 55 plus 20. Now you're at 75 feet.
And you just run by people doing energy damage to them.
So the way this thing breaks down, and I'm trying to get back to it. When you use your step of the wind, your speed increases by 20 feet until the end of your turn. For that duration, any creature of your choice takes damage equal to one roll of the martial arts die when you enter a space within 5 feet of it. The damage is the same type you use for this feature's damage resistance, and a creature can only take the damage once per turn. So if you use your movement and your bonus action to move, that's 150 feet, because you've already opted that you're taking step of the wind, which means 150 foot of movement. You're covering every person that's on that battlefield, and if they're all going to take damage equal to one roll of the martial arts die, you're 17th level, which means that's up to a d12. So you can do a crap ton of damage. You could take out an army of peasants or an army of kobolds at that rate. Just saying.
Yeah, and if you happen to take like the mobile feat or other things that make you faster,
Yep.
you can cover even more ground. I mean, I actually you chances are you're going to run out of enemies before you run out of movement, since you can only affect each one once.
Yes.
The big change, I want to say the big change to um what is it, Warrior of the Hand is Quivering Palm, man.
Quivering Palm now has a limit.
Yeah, you don't do up to, didn't it used to be like 20 die 10 or something ridiculous?
No, I thought it was limited. I thought it used to have like no upper limit.
I thought the damages was a lot more. I mean, it's a 17th level ability, so but now they put some limitations on it compared to what it had before. Other than that, it's a lot of the same stuff you were getting before. Some minor tweaks and changes. Paladin. So Paladin had changed to where you could do smites with ranged weapons, and now they're back to unarmed strikes or weapons. But they do call out unarmed strikes now, because I know that's been a debate in some of our builds. But they also kind of got rid of Divine Smite and replaced it with you just have access to all the Paladin Smite spells, and they're always
Yes.
prepared. Um, they're doing it that way. What else is
So
going on
that
with
that I
Paladin?
feel is less useful. Um, Quivering Palm doesn't have an upper limit. You just spend three. When you hit a creature with an unarmed attack, you can spend 3 key points to start these imperceptible vibrations, which last a number of days, equal to your monk level. They're harmless unless you use your action to end them. To do so, the target must be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the creature makes a con saving throw. If it fails, it is reduced to 0 hit points. If it succeeds, it takes 10 die 10 necrotic. Uh, so it just like, regardless of how many hit points it has, boom, you fall. Now it takes 10 die 12 plus your monk level of force damage, and if it saves, it takes half.
That's just a home horror.
So
Then it doesn't take anything.
unless it's a helm horror, then it takes nothing. So you got a monk in your party, helm horror is the way to go.
Well, a lot of this stuff, it's like instead of making it magic, they're like it does force damage.
Yeah.
So just to sell your adventuring parties with helm
So
horrors.
I'm not really thrilled with the changes to the paladin smite feature. Having played a paladin and my son playing a paladin, like I like being able to choose when the smite goes off.
Yeah.
um they'll be like, nope, you got to cast it first. That's kind of a crap thing. Even if you want to play with the smite damage doesn't get you know doubled on a crit, all right, sure, you can play that way, but like, why do you got to take this away? Like, it's a whole thing.
Also, you used to be able to stack smite and smite spells together,
Yep.
which you can't do. Now, granted, like I mean, you cast a spell and then you have a minute or so, so basically a combat to actually get it off on something. But yeah, it's not quite the same as being like, I hit. Do you want to smite? Or at our table, oh, I crit. Definitely going to smite.
Yep.
So that definitely changed. We'll see if that stays or not, or if they'll get pushed back, or if people are like, you know what, screw you, paladins are just too strong as it is. They needed it. Needed a little nerfing, but their lay on hands
Wait a
did
second.
get
So
better.
the lay on hands does certainly get better, being able to bump that up to a bonus action instead of a regular action. That means like I can heal and attack on the same turn. That means like you don't have that choice anymore of like, do I kill it or do I save my party member's life? Like, no, man, I got this. I'm gonna do both.
Well, yeah, and also the paladin can bust out a lot of healing in one shot, right? To one individual. So, and there's also another thing, right? The Wizards of the Coast giveth and taketh away. Rangers and paladins no longer get cantrips after getting them and then not having them to start with. Then they got them. Now they don't have them anymore.
Yeah, that's another tough one. It's like I don't understand though the yo-yoing here. I mean, I'd love if they like published, the feedback of like, well, what are people saying? Like, why are you making these changes? Like, I don't know.
Although I do like the one thing that they explained. I don't know if they explained it with the paladin or with one of the other classes. Is the reason that they got rid of the paladin's immunity to disease and other creatures having the immunity to disease is because disease itself wasn't a well defined feature in the game.
Yeah, it was paladin and monk, and
Yeah.
it said that a lot of things that replicated that fell in like the realm of poison. So like that was the a direction that they were looking at. So like we needed to nerf the whole thing about disease, and who knows, maybe they're trying to stop the paladins from helping out sex workers.
Maybe. I know that's what all the paladins used it for in our games to avoid getting STDs. Um, but mechanically, I think they're trying to address the issue that, like, well, what is the mechanical thing that happens when you get a disease? Well, we should figure out giving um, bonuses against that or resistance to that, as opposed to something nebulous like a disease, because there were some things like diseases could mimic spells, diseases can mimic other conditions. They were kind of like all over the place.
Yep, I think it would be far better to define diseases than it would be to like, oh, this has been a part of the game for, I don't know, since its inception.
Yeah.
Why don't we fix the nebulous part so it makes sense for these characters rather than be like, nope, let's throw this out rather than fix the nebulous problem?
No. Nebulous problem must stay. So
So we are past the 9 o'clock hour. Do we want to continue on? Do we want to
maybe like
continue this next time?
I don't think we should continue it next time. Maybe we'll just do a quick um
Summation.
is there anything else you wanted to call out on the paladin?
So like, yeah, the paladin nerfing the divine smite, the lay on hands was cool. All the martial classes are getting access to the weapon mastery. Um, paladins themselves are uber powerful classes to begin with, so like a little bit of nerfing is not that big a deal for them. Um, we have in here, several different paladin oaths. We get the oath of devotion, we get the oath of glory,
Oath of
we
Ancients
get
gets
the oath of
better
the
and worse at the
ancients.
same time.
Well, I mean, oath of ancients is always one of those hit or miss things anyway.
Well, but
They, I would,
they did get like their aura just gave resistance to spells.
yeah.
Like you just took half damage from any spell damage. That was kind of a big
Um,
deal, especially when you're talking about a paladin who's giving aura already to give you a bonus to a saving throw. So if it's
right.
something where you're going to pass a saving throw, take half damage, and then you're going to half it again, it really mitigated um, spell casting near them. And
Yep.
then, but it did fix the thing that I always found the problem was their channel divinity, their grasping vines, where it's like I can use my action to make this one guy stay in one spot, opposed to
Yeah.
being because you're a paladin, you can do way more just by whomping on them.
I would say that they've gone back to the old 20th level abilities, and they've gotten away from the epic boons. Those things are still feats, but they're not built into the core class anymore. Is there anything that you want to kind of touch on for rangers?
Yeah, actually, so the Beast Companion, I was excited because I misread something, and it's like one of the
Mhm.
fixes I thought like the Beastmaster Ranger could use all along. And they do get it, but not until 11th level, and that is allowing their Hunter's Mark to work for the Beast.
Yeah,
Like,
that is a good one.
like I think it should just be like that all the time, because like the Beast is their weapon.
Sure.
So they should be able to use it.
So they should get that at at third level,
They should
and
get
it should
yeah.
just be it should be extra slashing damage, not extra force damage,
Um,
or extra whatever the damage type would be.
yeah, but mostly like the Ranger. I mean, the Ranger was probably like the class that had the most problems to begin with. So they
Mhm.
folded in a lot of the features that I like from Tasha's Cauldron to everything into this version of the Ranger. Again, we already mentioned that they're not going to get the cantrips, so that part is cool. Actually, the Hunter, like you used to have to choose abilities, and they had some different restrictions on them, and they've loosened up those restrictions, and now you just get more of those abilities, and I kind of like that better than how Hunter works now.
Sure.
It
So
gives you kind of more choices.
anything else Ranger that you want to kind of call out, point out?
No, because we got to go. But before we do, you just want to hit Rogue real quick because Rogue had a
Yeah.
lot of
So
changes.
Rogue, my cool thing that I love about this is what do they call it? The Cunning Strike. You basically have the ability to essentially sacrifice some of your sneak attack dice to apply some features. So, like, you can attempt to disarm them or poison them by, literally giving them the poison condition. You can trip, you can attack and then move away without provoking opportunity attacks. As you gain levels, you can uh, pretty much apply a secondary thing, sacrificing more dice. You then get some other abilities, like you can attempt to daze them, knock them out, or obscure so that they become blinded. And each of these things has its own essentially sacrifice cost off of the amount of sneak attack damage you would be rolling. But man, I absolutely adore these things. Um, I feel like this. I love rogues as is. I think they're another one of the really great character classes because they're not resource dependent, and I feel like this is going to give rogues a whole lot more options to play.
Yeah, and some of the subclasses lean into that, giving new options and different options. Definitely, there's a lot there. Like I said, like we said already, there's way too much for us to get into in an hour. But the link's in the description. Go check it out. Go give your feedback. Tell Wizards of the Coast what you like, what you don't like, and weigh in. With that, we were going to be out of here for a couple weeks because we're going to be in the UK, hanging out in a castle. Hopefully, we'll see some of you there.
So
We won't have any
so
live stuff for like 2 weeks.
yeah, so nothing nothing this Tuesday or next Tuesday for our wormhole game. Nothing next Sunday for our regular live chat. And then we'll be back sometime thereafter. After we've recovered from our international travel and some games at the castle.
So until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.